Hello everybody, my name's Jake and welcome back to my channel. So, today I'm going to be doing my long-awaited favorite books of 2018. Yes, I know it's January 16th and I'm just filming it. I'm a dumb bitch. We all know this. Sorry, Lisa. But that's what we're going to do. I'm sorry about this weird angle I'm doing. This is like my two bookshelves right here, but I have another one right here. And I'm kind of filming diagonally right now because I'm redoing my bookshelves right now. So I have books all on the floor around here, and I haven't redone my other one. So this is the angle you're getting right now. I'm actually kind of liking this. So this might be more of a permanent thing. You get to see my Stephen King shelf. That's my graphic novels and manga are back there, and yeah. So let me know if you guys like this, because I kind of do. Anyways, I'm rambling about stuff that doesn't matter for this video. My favorite reads of 2018. I only gave 11 books 5 stars this year. Well, I gave more than 11 books 5 stars. I probably gave closer to 15, but like 4 of those were rereads, so we're not counting those in this. I was going to cut this down to my top 10 books of the year, but I felt really bad discluding one book, so I was like, there's only 11 5-star reads out of like 85 books I read this year. Might as well talk about all 11 of them. So we're just going to do it that way. I did rank them, and I think this ranking is correct. So my top 2 books are kind of tied, but we'll talk about them when I get there. So yeah, let's talk about my first book. My first favorite book of 2018, so I guess my least favorite book. That's sad. No, this is one of my favorite books of 2018. Is Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. This is the only nonfiction book that is on this list. It is a memoir written by Jenny Lawson herself, obviously, because that's what memoirs are. Help me. So this is a memoir about Jenny Lawson and her struggle with mental illness through life, and it's amazing. Like, it takes a happy approach to it, because a lot of memoirs written about mental health oftentimes tend to be more sad. This one takes a happy approach, furiously happy, because that's kind of how she is in life. That's her motto, is to be furiously happy. She's an amazing human being. I follow her on Twitter, and I'm literally obsessed with her. She has 2 memoirs out. Wait, she has 3 books out right now. One of them's a mental illness coloring book, which I own but don't use because I don't color. But this one, and then she has a memoir that she released before this one that I haven't read yet. But yes, so there isn't really much to say about this. She has a obsession with taxidermy, hence this raccoon on the cover. She is literally amazing, and I don't really know how to talk about memoirs. Just read it, you know? Just trust me. This cover, I love the cover to this. I recommend listening to the audio book for this instead of actually reading it. Like, there are some pictures in this, but the audiobook is just so good. Jenny reads it herself, and it's amazing. You can just flip through the pictures afterwards. That's what I did. Just read this, whether you're reading it or listening to it. It's amazing regardless. The next book I'm going to be talking about is one of 2 sequels that are on my top reads of the year list, and that is Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. I guess I'm saying that right. My cat just sneezed. Anyways, so this is a sequel, so I'm not going to talk much about what happens in this book specifically, but this series follows Aloza, who's the main character, and she is half siren, half human. Her parents, her mother's a siren, and her dad is the pirate king. He kind of runs all the pirates, and he's feared on all land and ocean alike. Ooh, scary. So this follows, the first book follows her trying to get the last piece of a map on this rebel ship. Not necessarily rebel ship, but it's just like a rival ship, and she has to like disguise herself as a prisoner. So they take her prisoner, but that they don't realize that that's her plan all along. So she's on this ship trying to get this last piece of the map. And I am not a huge fan of pirate books or pirates in general. I don't care about it. It's not something that interests me. I do like books set like in the sea, but for some reason pirates just aren't something I cared about. So I was very, when I was starting this series, but I actually ended up really enjoying it, obviously. I gave both books 5 stars. I think I preferred the first book over the second book, though. Not gonna lie. But this one's still obviously really good. I gave it 5 stars. But, yeah, and look at that. Look at that cover. Look at that cover. This ring light is kind of making a glare on it, and I don't know how to fix that. There, can you see that? Can you see that? I'm trying not to be a mess with these descriptions and, change. I think I might try actually thinking about what I'm going to talk about before filming instead of pressing play on a camera and talking, which just ends up in me rambling like I'm doing right now. So maybe I should try thinking about what I'm going to say. Probably not. Next, my 9th favorite read of the year, a polarizing one. A lot of people don't like this book. A lot of people love this book. I am on the love portion of that spectrum. Anyways, it is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This follows a dual timeline following the same character. It follows her teenage years in which she attended this summer camp and her adult years in which she is being a counselor at this summer camp. So in the teenage years, she had bunkmates. There's 3 of them, and they all ended up going missing. So her time was cut short that summer. An investigation happened. A lot of what happened. No one ever actually knew what happened. And then the timeline in the present follows her going back as a counselor when the camp finally reopens and trying to figure out like what happened to those girls, what the truth was, since no one ever knows like what actually happened to them. This book kept me interested the whole time. Like the whole time I wanted to keep reading it. It never got boring to me. There was one of the twists I really didn't like. I'm obviously not going to say what it was because spoilers, but I really didn't like it. But the rest of them were good. I was shook, shocked, and shaken, all 3. So, yeah. The thing I like about Riley Sager is he takes horror movie tropes and makes them into thriller novels. Like, I think that's why I love him so much, because horror movies are my shit. It's my favorite thing. So reading those tropes, like, in a thriller is really entertaining. Like, his first book is The Final Girls, is about the final girl trope. Second book is about, like, the camp trope, how a lot of horror movies are set at summer camp. His third book, I don't exactly, remember what it's about. It's coming out this year. But I'm pretty sure there's a trope for that one, too. But, yeah, so I highly recommend this book, even if you don't like it. Just read it to see where you fall on the spectrum, Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it just okay to you? Who knows? Next. This next one was actually my first 5-star read of the year, I believe. Yeah, my first 5-star read of the year, and that is Batman Nightwalker by Murray Liu. This is the second book in the DC Icon series, the first being Wonder Woman, Warbringer, which I've also read. I didn't rate it as highly as this one, though. So this kind of series follows the origin stories of some of these superheroes. Maybe not necessarily... Yeah, the origin stories. It follows them all in their teen... Ollie, shut up! Anyways, this one obviously follows Bruce, or Batman, in his teenage years, and let me just say, I loved this. It's about him kind of taking the law into his own hands and becoming a vigilante. He ends up meeting this villain named Madeline. She's kind of, or Madeline, I don't know. She's kind of a villain, kind of not. I mean, I'm not going to say much else because I would just read this if you like DC or Batman at all, which, as you all know, I'm Team DC. Even though Marvel has better movies, I can't deny that, but other than that, DC, especially their villains. DC has some complex villains, and I am here for it. Anyways, so yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about this book other than it is really good. I loved Bruce in this book. I loved the main girl. I loved pretty much everything about it. I mean, this was my first 5-star of the year. Also, I love these DC Icon books because they come with, like, posters in the book of the characters. So, like, there's Bruce. So, that's cool. The next book I'm going to talk about is an oldie, but a goodie. Pretty much everyone has read this book. Pretty much everyone has loved this book. Had a movie come out this year. It's Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertelli. This was amazing. Like, I already knew I was going to love it. I can't say that. I thought it was going to be boring, to be honest with you. I am kind of over books that are just about coming out stories. Like, I like me a good coming out story. Don't get me wrong. But I also want to read more books where it's not the main plot, you know? But anyways, so I finally gave this one a read because, everyone loves it. There's a movie coming out. I needed to watch the movie, and I loved it. Like, loved it. I actually, right after I finished it, I thought about rereading it because It was that good, and I am not the type to reread books like that soon after. So that in itself says enough. So this follows Simon, who is emailing another gay guy that he goes to school with named Blue. He's not actually named Blue, but that's like his alias, I guess, within the emails. So Simon actually has no idea who Blue is, and he's kind of trying to figure out who Blue is, while at the same time someone else is blackmailing him since he saw the emails. Just a coming out story that's really good, and I loved it. And the movie's amazing too. Love Simon. It is one of my favorite movies of the year, and honestly probably all time. So read this, watch it, live it. But the next one is the other sequel that's on this list, and this one, everyone has probably already read this, and if you have read it, you probably loved it because it's amazing and recent. So it's A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. She's a chunker, let's just say that. I read 2 Sarah J. Maas books this year, this one and Throne of Glass. I really enjoyed both of them, but this is definitely the better of the 2. So everyone knows what this follows, so we're not going to talk about that. I loved all the characters in it, although I will say I prefer Selena over Feyre. Sorry about it, but I like them both, but Selena's just a better character in my opinion. But anyways, they're actually very similar, so I don't even know what to say because you all have probably already read this, but I loved it, so now you guys know. I read this before I made my booktube channel, so I don't think I've talked about it like at all on my channel, but I really love this series, and I haven't finished it, or well, I haven't read the 3rd book and then A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I know everyone hates, but I'm going to read it anyways, because if I know there's more content to read in a series, I have to read it, even though it sucks, so we'll see how that goes. Wow, look at me rambling again. Anyone surprised? Not me. Moving on. We're on to my top 5 reads of 2018, and number 5 is The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. This I also read before I made my channel. I think this came out at the beginning of the year. I might be wrong, though. It might have came out at the end of 2017. Regardless, this is kind of like Hocus Pocus. It follows our main character who lives in this town in which years and years and years ago, 3 sisters were drowned for being witches. So now, in the present time, every year at the same time, they take the bodies of 3 girls that either live on this land or are visiting, and they use them to drown boys, pretty much, to get their revenge on the town for drowning them. This was amazing. I think I've said that for all of these books. Obviously, they're amazing. It's my favorite reads of 2018, but this was so good, and Netflix is making a movie out of it. I'm very nervous at how they're going to do it, but I'm also excited, so we're going to see how that's going to go. Anyways, I can't even say I love the characters, because I really didn't care about the characters in this. I'm going to be honest with you. I really enjoyed the 3 sisters. I thought they were all really complex. They each had their own character traits. Like, they're not just 3 girls that are drowning boys. Like, they all have their own thing going on. This was pretty predictable to me. My favorite part was easily the atmosphere. Like, the atmosphere of this book is very, like, spooky, like beach town, like Can you tell I haven't filmed in weeks? Probably not, because this video is no different than the rest of my messy videos, but anyways, yeah, the atmosphere of this was easily the best part of it, and I am very excited for the movie because it was good. Just read it. I also, speaking of this, I want to read more witchy books. So, like, I read a couple this year. I read this and Toil and Trouble, I think, are the only 2 witchy books I read in 2018. So it was a goal of mine to read more books centered around witches in this year. So if you have any good recommendations, let me know down below. The next book I'm going to be talking about is my favorite thriller of all time, and it is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. So this also follows a dual timeline like the other thriller I talked about. It follows one set in 1950, I believe, which is about these 4 girls that are living at this boarding school for broken girls. And it kind of follows their story. Shit goes down. I'm not going to say anything about it because you need to read it. And then the 2014 storyline follows the main character of this book. Her name's Fiona, and her sister was murdered at this boarding school, which has at some point between the two timelines, the boarding school is shut down. So her sister was murdered on the property of the boarding school after it was already shut down. So this follows Fiona kind of obsessing over that. She doesn't think the person that was arrested for the murder of her sister actually did it. So she's trying to figure out the truth of her sister. And while she's doing so, she also starts to uncover some of the truths of the shut down boarding school. Literally, there's also paranormal elements in this book, which I did not know before reading this. So that made this 10 times better, and it actually creeped me out. Like, it's hard to creep me out, especially in books, but this one creeped me out. So it was amazing. Another one that the atmosphere is really good. I love thrillers and mysteries that are set in small towns. Like, they're some of my favorites to read about. So that already had that going for it. Boarding schools, also another favorite trope of mine. Like, this book was pretty much made for me to love it, and I did. So this was also on my sister's TBR. I have the dust jacket right now because this is the one she's currently reading. So hopefully she actually likes this one. I think she will, but we'll see. We're on to my top 3 reads of the year. So number 3 is The Last Fantasy on this list, surprisingly. My top 2 are both contemporary. But number 3 is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Is anyone surprised? Probably not. Everyone knows this is amazing. But I finally got my black edition. So love that for me. But once again, this is probably the most popular book that was released in 2018. So you guys all know what it's about, but I'll say it anyways. This follows Jude and her sisters, Vivian and Taryn, who were stolen away from their parents by this guy named Maddox. Familial drama. You know, he murdered their parents and shit. Took them away, like, just the usual, you know, happens to everybody. So this follows, Vivian is a fairy, so she fits into the fairy world great, even though she hates it the most out of the 3 sisters. So this pretty much follows Jude and Taryn trying to live as mortals in this fairy world, Jude obviously being the main character. And yeah, I absolutely love this book. I will say, I read, since recording this video, the second book, The Wicked King, has been released, and I read that. I enjoyed that one more than this one, and that one actually made me like Cardan. I hated Cardan in this one. But Jude is the best character in this series, and one of my all-time favorite characters in general, so love her. But yeah, you guys have all probably already read this, so this isn't going to really change anything, but if you haven't read this, and you were watching right now, just read it. There's no reason for you not to, even if you don't like fantasy. This is amazing anyways, so just pick her up, crack her open, and give her a read. That was really fucking weird. We're gonna continue before I say anything that is also stupid. On to my top 2, which are technically tied for first place, but yeah, they're tied for first place. I talk about one of these way more than the other one, but my enjoyment of them is like on the same level. Some days I'll be like, this one's my favorite. Other days I'll be like, this one's my favorite. There's like 5 books and series that I go between as my all-time favorites. But anyways, first of the 2 is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This one also follows a split timeline. We picking up on any trends here? I love me some dual timeline stories, so I don't know why I love them, but I do. Anyways, this follows a set of twins. Their names are Jude and Noah. So this follows a dual timeline. One follows them as they were kids, and the other one follows them as teenagers. Noah's is the one that follows them as kids, and Jude's is the one that follows them as teenagers. So in the kid timeline, it kind of follows Noah struggling with his sexuality and struggling just in general with life. They're both struggling, just living that struggle. Jude's follows her struggle and her as a teenager. And in between these timelines, at some point, they kind of start growing apart and not liking each other as much, you know, just sibling drama. So the book kind of follows how they got to the point they're at, and then them trying to fix it, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense. I feel like this video has been more me roasting myself than me actually talking about the books I love, but whatever, we're already 24 minutes in, so might as well talk about my last 2 books. This book made me bawl like a bitch. Like, I was crying so hard. There was a point in this book where I listened to it on audiobook. I was just crying for the last, like, hour and a half of the audiobook. Like, it wasn't even just for one part. I just cried throughout the whole rest of this book. it fucked me up. I still think about it, and it still makes me emotional. So just read it. It's amazing, and yeah. I have the paperback up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can. Right here. Yeah, right there. Because I'm going to annotate it and then send it to some of my BookTube friends because they're going to annotate it too, and we're just kind of doing this thing. So yeah, love it. The last book I'm going to be talking about in this video is The Fox Encore by Nora Sakavic. This follows the main character Neil, who his father was the head of like the mafia, and his mother was the wife of the head of the mafia. So Neil and his mom decide to run away and live their life outside of the mafia. The mother ends up dying along the way. So this book picks up with Neil living on his own, trying to just make it place to place. He has a fake name, Neil, not his real name. And yeah, so he plays a sport called Xe, which is a made-up sport for like the sake of this book. I don't even know how to explain it because I fucking hate sports and mafia, actually. So once again, I'm not sure why I enjoyed this so much. Actually, I do know why I enjoy this so much, and that's what we're going to talk about in a second. So yeah, so he gets recruited to this college Xe team, and he doesn't know whether or not he actually wants to do it because, you know, he's on the run from the mafia, so he doesn't want to put his name out and face out there. Anyways, spoiler alert, he ends up doing it. That's not really a spoiler, that's what the book's about. But he ends up taking this, and this follows the Xe team he's playing for. They're all screwed up. They're all recruited for this team on purpose, like for a reason. The only people that are allowed to play on this team are people that have like messed up lives, so that's just kind of how it is. And this has my favorite character of all time, Andrew. I'm literally obsessed with him, and he's fake. Like, I know he's a fictional character, but I die for him. Like, I would, if I was told to jump out this window to save him, I'd do it. I don't know why I'm talking about jumping out a window. I'm in the basement, so I don't really have a window to jump out of. But if there was a window right there, my ass would go sailing out that bitch. I don't care. I love him. This is amazing. I've only read the first book out of the 3, I believe it's a trilogy. And I might reread this before I continue the trilogy because I want to. Come at me. So, yeah. This is tied with I'll Give You the Sun. I was going to say this is my favorite book of the year, but this tied with I'll Give You the Sun. And honestly, those 2 books are probably my all-time favorite books because I love them so much. So yeah, those are all my favorite books of 2018. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, like if you'd like to, leave a comment. Oh, that reminds me, if you have any witchy reads, recommend them down below. Also, books with dual timelines, because I love those as well, I guess. Just recommend me books you think I'd enjoy, because I like reading books that I enjoy. I made a whole channel based off of it. Who would know? Anyways, thank you.